To sharpen the brush, the young women touched it to their lips. Then they dipped it in glowing paint, painted a tiny number on a watch dial, and did it again, hundreds of times a day. Lip, dip, paint. Nobody told them the paint was radioactive. Nobody told them that with every point of the brush, they were swallowing something that would eat their bones from the inside. I'm a vascular surgeon, and this is the story of the Radium Girls, the factory workers who were poisoned by their own jobs and whose deaths built the ground rules of modern medicine and worker safety. It comes from the pathology reports in the court records of the time. You're gonna see why radium was treated as a miracle instead of a poison, what it actually did inside their bodies, and how the very thing that killed them became a cancer treatment we use today. It's a story that starts as a tragedy but doesn't end where you'd expect. Picture the United States in the years around the First World War. Radioactivity is brand new, barely 2 decades old, and nobody yet understands what it does to the body over time. Far from being feared, radium is a sensation. It is sold in face creams, in tonic water, in health spas. Glowing is marketed as modern, vital, even healthy. So when factories in New Jersey and Illinois needed a luminous paint for watch and instrument dials that soldiers could read in the dark, radium was the obvious, glamorous choice. The work was delicate. The numbers on a watch face are tiny, and the paintbrushes lost their fine point almost immediately. The efficient solution, the one the workers were taught, was to draw the bristles between their lips to twist them back to a sharp tip. Lip, dip, paint. Every stroke put a trace of radium into their mouths. Over a shift, over months, over years, it added up to a dose no one was counting. And these were coveted jobs. The pay was good. The work seemed clean and even fashionable. Some of the young women painted their nails and their teeth with the leftover paint so they would glow at dances. They weren't reckless, and they weren't naive. They were doing exactly what their employer told them was safe. Keep that in mind, because it matters for who's really to blame. Then around the middle of the 1910s and into the 1920s, they started getting sick. It often began in the mouth. Teeth loosened for no reason, jaws ached, then began to rot, a condition so specific to these workers that doctors would come to call it radium jaw. Bones broke under ordinary weight. Some developed a devastating anemia. Others grew tumors in their bones. Here's the piece a surgeon can explain. Radium is chemically similar to calcium, so the body, fooled, files it away into the skeleton, as if it were building healthy bone. Once it's lodged there, it doesn't leave. It sits inside the bone and irradiates it from within, year after year, destroying the marrow and the jaw and everything around it. They were quite literally glowing from the inside, and it was killing them. And here is the part that should make you angry. The companies knew more than the women did. The chemists and executives who handled radium in the laboratory protected themselves with shielding, with tongs, with lead. Meanwhile, they assured the women on the factory floor that the paint was harmless. When the workers began to die, the companies denied any connection and fought to keep it hidden. This wasn't a case of everyone being equally in the dark. It was an asymmetry of knowledge and a deliberate silence. But the women didn't stay silent, and this is where the story turns. Some of them, already dying, took the companies to court, and that was almost unheard of. At the time, the idea that a worker could hold an employer responsible for a disease caused on the job barely existed in law. Several of these women testified when they could no longer walk, when they could barely lift their arms to be sworn in. A pathologist named Harrison Martland developed the methods to prove, scientifically, that radium was what was destroying them, turning autopsies into evidence. Their case became one of the founding stories of occupational medicine. The moment it was established that a company owes its workers a safe place to work and can be made to answer, when it doesn't. That fight rewrote the rules, the safety limits for how much radium a human body can tolerate. The standards that later protected countless workers in the nuclear age were calculated in part by studying the bodies of these very women. Workplace safety law, the right to compensation, the basic principle that we didn't know is not an excuse when you chose not to look. All of it grew, in part, out of what happened on those factory floors. Now, I have to be honest about a darker thread because this channel doesn't tidy up history. Even after they died, many of these women were studied for decades. Their bodies and remains followed in research programs stretching into the 1990s. Often this was framed as routine measurement, a gift to science. But for more than 50 years, they were, in effect, research subjects, frequently without anything we would today recognize as proper consent. The tragedy didn't end at the graveside. It became quietly a lesson in the ethics of experimenting on human beings, the same lesson that shaped the consent forms every patient signs today. And then there's the twist I find hardest to look away from as a doctor. The exact property that killed them, radium's hunger for bone, is now used to save lives. There is a radioactive treatment that seeks out bone the way radium did, and it's used today against cancer that has spread to the skeleton, delivering radiation precisely where the tumor lives. The same mechanism that rotted a young woman's jaw in 1925 is now aimed on purpose at a tumor. Medicine took the thing that murdered them and turned it into a weapon against disease. That's not a coincidence of history. It's the whole pattern of this channel in a single fact. The poison and the cure are often the same molecule, and the only difference is how much we understand. So when you hear their story told as a simple horror, the girls who glowed in the dark, remember what it actually left behind. Not just graves, the right to a safe workplace. The duty of a company to warn you, the standards that measure a safe dose, the idea that a patient must consent. They paid for those rules with their bones, and we've been living inside their protection ever since. If you want to see another case where medicine's brightest idea turned into its darkest mistake, the operation that won a Nobel Prize and ruined thousands of lives, that story is already here on the channel. Watch it next.